The wind whispers across ancient stone and forgotten valleys, carrying the echoes of a time when the world was not as it is now. Beneath the soil, beneath the mountains, beneath the waves of desert sands, there are stories that have been buried, not just physically, but from memory itself. Tales of beings so vast, so powerful, that the scribes of old could scarcely find words to describe them. They walked among humans, yet were not fully human. They shaped the rivers and carved the mountains. They were the giants, the Nephilim, a name whispered in forbidden texts, erased from the histories we are taught to believe. What if the world we know is only a fragment of what once was? What if our textbooks have deliberately turned a blind eye to the immense truths lying just beyond the edge of what is acceptable to study, to say, to imagine? Across every ancient culture, there is a memory of the colossal. From the deserts of Mesopotamia to the icy reaches of the north, from the high Andes to the rolling plains of America, tales persist of beings taller than men, stronger than men, whose existence was so extraordinary that it defied comprehension. These are not mere fairy tales, nor are they exaggerations of heroic deeds. They appear again and again, in different forms, in different tongues, and yet with a familiar shape. Men and women born of something beyond the ordinary, entities whose presence threaten to outshine humanity itself. Even in the quietest corners of the earth, in places untouched by modern civilization, whispers remain. Travelers, explorers, and those who came upon strange relics speak of enormous bones, gigantic tools, oversized dwellings, proof, however fragmentary, that we have been deceived about our past. Consider the mound builders of ancient North America, whose massive earthen constructions dwarf what a human workforce would reasonably be able to accomplish. Or the colossal stones of Baalbek in Lebanon, hewn and positioned with precision that continues to baffle engineers today. Who could have moved them, if not beings of extraordinary strength or knowledge? History has a habit of forgetting, of simplifying, of rationalizing what it cannot understand. And yet, the evidence, fragmented, ridiculed, or hidden, lingers. Early reports from 19th century newspapers speak of skeletons far taller than any human should be, yet these reports were quietly dismissed or erased from archives. Museums claim these specimens never existed, while whispers of confiscated remains circulate through the corridors of those who dare to investigate. The narrative of giants is not a solitary anomaly. It is a pattern, repeated across continents, across millennia, carefully silenced and yet stubbornly persistent. Imagine a night in the wilderness, far from city lights, where the stars feel impossibly close. Somewhere beneath your feet, there may lie a relic of that erased world, a shard of bone, a broken weapon, a stone structure that hints at the impossible. Every legend has a kernel of truth. The Nephilim, the Watchers, the Anakim, they were names given by those who feared them, revered them, and in some cases, worshipped them. And yet, the story we are told is that they were myths, cautionary tales for children and sermons. What if they were neither myth nor legend, but memory? Memory deliberately hidden because the truth was too disruptive, too dangerous, too enormous to face. We are standing at the edge of what we think we know. History is not simply a record of human achievement. It is a narrative carefully curated by those who would determine what is remembered and what is forgotten. Beneath that surface, beneath the familiar names and dates, lies a shadow history. It is in that shadow, in the spaces between official accounts, that the Nephilim persist. The giants may have been erased, but their traces remain, in earthworks, in ruins, in scrolls hidden from public view, and in the whispers of those who know better. And so, we begin, not at the beginning of human history as we have been taught, but at the point where mystery creeps into memory, where evidence defies explanation, where the faint outlines of beings once great enough to challenge gods themselves begin to emerge. Prepared to descend into a past that has been carefully veiled, to follow the tracks of giants whose lives were so extraordinary that the world could not endure their story. In the shadows of forgotten history, the giants still wait, silent and patient, and their tale is about to be heard once more. In the beginning, there was darkness, but in that darkness, there was also the spark of something divine. The ancient world did not begin with a simple act of creation, but with a blending of realms, the spiritual and the earthly. It is within this realm of mystery that we encounter the Nephilim, beings whose existence was so extraordinary that they have been written out of history. The book of Genesis, our earliest recorded scripture, speaks cryptically of them. There were giants in the earth in those days. But what does this really mean? What did the ancient writers intend when they described these beings as the offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men? In traditional biblical interpretation, this verse has been dismissed as a mere reference to fallen angels, their union with human women, and the creation of a race of giants. Yet, when we step outside of the constraints of orthodoxy, another possibility presents itself, one that aligns with the ancient narratives not only of the Hebrews, but of civilizations spanning the globe. Could these sons of God be something more than mere angels? Could they be another race altogether, beings from another time or world, who came to Earth with the purpose of shaping the future of mankind? The implications of this question reach far beyond the surface of Genesis and into a deeper, more unsettling mystery. The story of the Nephilim begins with the descent of the Watchers, a group of heavenly beings who, according to the book of Enoch, left their celestial realm to walk upon the earth. The book of Enoch itself is a tale both forbidden and ignored by mainstream Christianity, a text so powerful and so vivid in its descriptions that it was excluded from the final canon of the Bible. This ancient scroll, once revered by early Christians and Jews alike, offers an expanded narrative of the Nephilim, describing not only their creation but the consequences of their existence. According to the book of Enoch, the Watchers were not mere angels. They were something more. They were beings of great wisdom and power, responsible for teaching early mankind the secrets of the cosmos. They imparted knowledge on forbidden subjects, metallurgy, astrology, herbalism, and the arts of magic. But in doing so, they also crossed a line. Their union with human women resulted in a race of offspring that were not fully human, a hybrid species known as the Nephilim. These giants, towering over ordinary men, possessed immense strength and advanced knowledge. They were both revered and feared, as their presence signified the intermingling of the divine with the mortal. However, as the Nephilim grew in power, they began to exert their dominance over the earth. Their actions, their wars, their building of cities, and their manipulation of nature were said to have disrupted the natural order. It was a world of chaos, where the lines between the divine and the human blurred, and where creatures of immense strength walked among us. The Watchers, seeing the turmoil they had caused, were bound in chains and cast into the abyss, while their hybrid children, the Nephilim, were destined for destruction. This was the moment that marked the beginning of the flood, a divine cleansing of the earth, meant to rid the world of the Nephilim and their dangerous influence. But the question lingers: why were these giants, these Nephilim, allowed to exist in the first place? Why did the gods allow this hybrid race to take root, to grow, to dominate for a time? And why, after their fall, did their story continue to echo through the corridors of time? It is not just in the book of Enoch that we find mention of these beings. Their story stretches far beyond the borders of the ancient Near East, reaching into cultures as diverse as the Sumerians, Egyptians, and even the indigenous peoples of the Americas. In Sumerian myth, for instance, the Apkallu, a group of semi-divine beings, were said to have descended from the heavens, bringing with them knowledge and civilization. These Apkallu were said to have been part man, part god, and their role in the creation of the first cities and civilizations mirrors that of the Nephilim. In ancient Egypt, the gods themselves were depicted as gigantic beings, towering above mortals. The Egyptian gods, like the Greek Titans, were beings of great power and stature, whose influence was felt in every aspect of Egyptian life. These gods, like the Nephilim, were both revered and feared for their strength and their wisdom, as well as their ability to shape the course of history. And then there is the myth of the Anakim, the giants of the Bible who were said to have lived in the land of Canaan. The Anakim were descendants of the Nephilim, and their presence in the Holy Land was so formidable that the Israelites, upon discovering their existence, were filled with terror. According to the book of Numbers, the spies sent by Moses into Canaan reported seeing giants in the land, and they were so fearful of these beings that they likened themselves to grasshoppers in comparison. The evidence for these giants does not only come from ancient texts. Archaeological discoveries around the world have yielded startling finds, skulls, bones, and tools that suggest the existence of beings far larger than any human that has ever walked the earth. In Peru, in the desert caves of Paracas, massive elongated skulls have been uncovered, some measuring up to 25% larger than those of modern humans. In North America, Native American legends speak of races of giants who roamed the land, and early explorers documented encounters with enormous skeletal remains. Yet, these discoveries have often been dismissed or hidden from the public eye. Bones have disappeared from museum collections, and reports of giant skeletons have been buried in archives, far from the eyes of those who might question the official narrative. As the centuries passed, the stories of the Nephilim and their offspring were forgotten, erased, or hidden. The Great Flood, which swept away the giants and their world, became a metaphor, a religious cautionary tale. The accounts of beings who once walked the earth alongside humans became the stuff of legend. But as we look deeper through the cracks of history, we find traces of their existence, remnants of a time when giants walked the earth, and when the divine and mortal were bound together in ways we cannot fully comprehend. The Nephilim were not simply mythological figures. They were a part of a history that was swept away, buried under the weight of time. But perhaps, just perhaps, their story is not over yet. Perhaps, in the forgotten corners of the world, their bones still wait to be uncovered, their truth still waiting to be revealed. In the 19th century, the world was a place of great exploration and discovery. New lands were charted, ancient ruins uncovered, and strange artifacts found beneath the soil. But among the many remarkable finds, there was one that would remain largely forgotten, swept aside by history's ever-turning tide. It began in the heart of the United States, in the remote wilderness of the Midwest and the American South. Beneath the earth, within burial mounds and ancient graves, an astonishing discovery was made: the remains of giants. These were not the bones of ordinary men, but skeletons that towered over the average human, some measuring 7, 8, even 12 feet tall. They were the stuff of legend, beings so large that they seemed to belong to a different world entirely. The discovery was not a single isolated incident. No, the giants were everywhere. In Ohio, in Illinois, in Wisconsin, in Iowa, across the heartland of America, explorers, farmers, and even construction workers stumbled upon the remains of this ancient race. It wasn't just the size of the bones that astonished them, but the intricate burial rituals, the mysterious artifacts, and the sense that these were not just people, but a whole different kind of civilization. Yet, just as quickly as the giants appeared, they began to vanish from the historical record. The bones were taken from their resting places, removed from museums, and quietly hidden away. Skeletal remains that had once been proudly displayed in public institutions were inexplicably reclassified, dismissed as mere curiosities, or simply lost to time. The earliest reports of these giant skeletons were made public in the mid-1800s. Newspapers such as the New York Times, the Boston Globe, and the New Orleans Daily Picayune carried stories about the discovery of human remains far larger than those of any modern man. In one notable case, workers digging a large trench near the town of Newkirk, Oklahoma, unearthed a skeleton that stood a staggering 9 feet tall. Another report from the early 19th century described the excavation of an 8-foot skeleton from a burial mound in Ohio. In other instances, explorers discovered skeletal remains that not only dwarfed those of modern humans, but were also accompanied by strange and seemingly impossible artifacts. Massive weapons, ceremonial tools, and even enormous stone tablets, carved with markings that seemed to defy explanation. These items seem to suggest that the giants were not just a race of oversized humans, but a people with advanced knowledge and technology, a civilization whose secrets have been lost to time. Despite the initial public interest, the giant story soon faded into obscurity. Museums that had once showcased the bones of these titanic figures suddenly stopped displaying them. Reports of new discoveries grew scarce, and those who continued to search for these remains were often met with frustration or silence. What happened to the bones? Where did they go? Some claim that they were confiscated by powerful institutions like the Smithsonian, whose curators and researchers seemingly had no interest in preserving these anomalous artifacts. Others suggest that they were hidden away, buried again, not in the earth, but in private collections or government archives, far from the public eye. The giants, once a topic of great fascination, became a taboo subject, swept under the rug of history and relegated to the realm of myth and speculation. This erasure of the giants was not confined to the United States. As more and more people began to notice the pattern, whispers of similar finds emerged from other parts of the world. In ancient burial sites across Europe, particularly in Ireland and Britain, enormous stone structures and megalithic tombs have been uncovered, some of which appear to have been built for beings far larger than the average human. The megaliths at places like Stonehenge, Newgrange, and Avebury have long fascinated historians and archaeologists who struggle to explain their purpose and construction. Yet, the connection between these sites and the giants remains largely unexplored. Was the size of these structures indicative of a race of giants who once inhabited these lands? Were these places built not for the ancestors of modern humans, but for beings of a different nature, beings who were far larger and far more powerful? One of the most puzzling aspects of the giant phenomenon is the lack of serious inquiry into these findings. Despite the overwhelming evidence presented by local newspapers and private citizens, mainstream academia has largely ignored or ridiculed the idea of a race of giants. Instead, scholars have been quick to offer alternative explanations, dismissing the reports as exaggerations, hoaxes, or misunderstandings. The remains of giant skeletons, if acknowledged at all, have been classified as belonging to individuals suffering from gigantism or other rare medical conditions. Yet, this explanation seems inadequate when one considers the sheer number of reports, the consistency of the size of the skeletons, and the presence of advanced artifacts that accompanied them. Could it really be that so many people across so many different regions all mistakenly identified oversized bones as evidence of a race of giants? The historical amnesia surrounding these discoveries only deepens when one considers the possibility that something more deliberate is at play. What if the suppression of the giant skeletons was not an oversight, but a conscious effort to protect the prevailing historical narrative? The idea that giants once roamed the earth challenges so many of our most fundamental assumptions about human history, about the evolution of civilization, and about the very nature of our existence. What would it mean for our modern understanding of the world if the truth were revealed, that we were not the first beings to shape the earth, that our ancestors were not alone in their efforts to build civilizations, and that there was once a race of beings far greater than ourselves? There's a certain discomfort in entertaining such possibilities. The idea of giants, beings who towered over us, whose strength and knowledge may have surpassed our own, forces us to reconsider everything we think we know about history. It challenges the very notion of human progress, suggesting that perhaps we are not the pinnacle of creation, but a mere continuation of a much older and more complex story. And yet, the evidence continues to surface, albeit in whispers and fragments, waiting for someone to piece it all together. What if the giants were not simply erased from the past, but have always been there, lurking in the margins of our history, just beyond our reach? As we step deeper into the shadows of history, we begin to realize that the story of the giants is not confined to the pages of ancient texts or the scattered remnants found in burial mounds. No, their presence is embedded in the very structures of the world around us. To truly understand the Nephilim and their enigmatic legacy, we must look beyond the bones and the artifacts, beyond the accounts of giants in far-flung lands. We must turn our gaze toward the monolithic structures that have withstood the test of time, the great stone edifices that stretch towards the heavens, built with such precision that modern engineers still struggle to replicate them. These structures, scattered across the globe, are a testament to a civilization that predated the rise of known empires, a civilization whose inhabitants were capable of feats of engineering and construction that defy explanation. Perhaps the most famous of these structures are the great megalithic sites, Stonehenge in England, the pyramids of Egypt, and the ancient cities of the Incas in Peru. But to focus only on these examples would be to ignore a larger pattern, one that reveals a global network of ancient sites, all of which share a common thread. They were built by beings who possessed knowledge, strength, and craftsmanship far beyond the capabilities of the civilizations we have come to recognize. Take, for instance, the ruins of Baalbek in Lebanon, where the stones that make up the platform of the Temple of Jupiter are so large that modern machinery struggles to move them. Some of these stones weigh over 1,000 tons, each one a mass so enormous that it seems impossible for any human, no matter how advanced their tools, to lift or transport them. And yet, the ancient builders of Baalbek did just that. Who were these builders? What kind of people possessed the knowledge to shape and move stones of such staggering size? The official narrative holds that these were simply ancient workers, using rudimentary tools, laboriously carving and moving these monolithic blocks. But that explanation seems woefully inadequate when you consider the sheer scale of the project. No civilization in recorded history has ever matched the precision with which these stones were cut and placed, and no workforce, using the technology available at the time, could have moved stones so large without leaving behind some evidence of their methods. The builders of Baalbek were not alone in their monumental achievements. Across the world, there are other examples of similarly incredible feats of construction. In Peru, the ruins of Machu Picchu rise above the clouds, their terraces and temples built with blocks of stone that fit together so perfectly, without the use of mortar, that even a razor blade cannot slip between them. The Inca builders, who were once thought to be primitive in their construction methods, created a city that defies modern understanding. The precision with which they cut and placed these stones suggests an advanced knowledge of engineering, a knowledge that seems to have been lost after the fall of their civilization. And then there are the ancient pyramids of Egypt, whose sheer scale and complexity have captivated historians and archaeologists for centuries. The Great Pyramid of Giza, for instance, is made up of over 3 million limestone blocks, each weighing several tons. The precision with which these blocks were placed, with such fine tolerances, is still impossible to replicate using modern tools. The question arises, how were these massive structures built with such accuracy and such sophistication, long before the advent of the wheel, cranes, or even written language? The answer, some believe, lies in the possibility that these structures were not the work of ordinary human beings. The level of craftsmanship and knowledge required to build these sites points to something or someone extraordinary. Could the builders of these ancient megalithic sites have been the Nephilim themselves or their descendants? Were these giant beings, with their immense strength and advanced knowledge, capable of feats that we, with all our modern technology, still cannot fully understand? The theory that the Nephilim were responsible for these incredible constructions is not as far-fetched as it may seem. Many ancient cultures, including the Egyptians, the Sumerians, and the Greeks, spoke of gods or demigods who descended from the heavens and taught humanity the secrets of civilization. These gods were often described as being taller, stronger, and wiser than ordinary humans. In some cases, they were even said to have been giants. The Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest recorded stories, tells of a hero who is said to be 2/3 divine and 1/3 human. In Greek mythology, the Titans were enormous, godlike beings who ruled before the Olympian gods took control. The parallels between these ancient myths and the stories of the Nephilim are striking, suggesting that the giants were not just figments of the imagination, but perhaps real beings who once walked the earth. But what if the giants were not just beings of myth and legend? What if they were real? And what if their presence on earth has been systematically erased from history? What if the very stones we marvel at today, the massive, carefully cut blocks that make up the walls of ancient temples and pyramids, were not simply the work of human hands, but the legacy of a lost race of giants who built these wonders in an age long forgotten? The evidence is scattered, hidden in plain sight, waiting to be uncovered. As we look at these ancient sites, we must ask ourselves, how could such monumental achievements have been accomplished without the involvement of a force far greater than humanity alone? The answer may lie not in the physical remains of the giants themselves, but in the structures they left behind, the silent monuments that continue to stand as a testament to their incredible power and knowledge. It is this legacy of the giants that continues to haunt us, not just in the ruins of ancient civilizations, but in the very fabric of our own history. We are left to wonder, what happened to the Nephilim? Where did they go? Were they destroyed in the Great Flood? Or did they leave, retreating back to the stars or to some other hidden realm? And if they did leave, what did they leave behind? Perhaps their greatest legacy is not the bones they left in the earth, but the incredible structures they built, silent witnesses to a time when giants walked the earth and when the divine and mortal realms were not so easily separated. The mystery of a Nephilim is not confined to the distant past, nor to the ruins of ancient civilizations. It is a story that continues to echo through time, cropping up in strange and unexpected places, from ancient prophecies to modern conspiracies. Throughout history, there have been numerous accounts of giant figures, beings of extraordinary size and strength, who have influenced the course of events. But these accounts are not always clear-cut. They are often surrounded by mystery, secrecy, and, in some cases, deliberate suppression. As we look further into the modern-day connections to the Nephilim, we see that their influence may not be as distant as we think. In fact, the Nephilim may be more intimately tied to our world today than we can imagine. One of the most fascinating aspects of the Nephilim legend is the idea that their bloodline did not simply disappear after the flood. Many ancient cultures, including the Bible itself, hint at the idea that the descendants of the giants survived in some form. The Book of Numbers, for instance, mentions the Anakim, a race of giants that were said to be the descendants of the Nephilim. These giants were said to have inhabited the land of Canaan before the Israelites arrived, and their very presence was enough to strike fear into the hearts of the ancient Hebrews. Some even claim that the giants may have continued to survive throughout history, either in secret or through selective breeding. Could the Nephilim's bloodline have persisted into the modern era, hiding in plain sight, waiting for the moment when their true legacy would be revealed? The concept of hidden bloodlines and secret societies is a recurring theme in esoteric traditions, and it may not be as far-fetched as it sounds. There are numerous reports of families or organizations who claim to possess ancient, sacred knowledge, passed down through the generations. These groups often claim to be the keepers of lost wisdom, wisdom that traces its origins back to the gods themselves. One such organization is the Freemasons, a secretive fraternal order with deep ties to ancient rituals and symbolism. The Freemasons, who trace their roots to medieval guilds, have long been accused of harboring occult knowledge and esoteric teachings, some of which may have been passed down from earlier pre-Christian societies. Many scholars and conspiracy theorists suggest that the Freemasons are the modern-day custodians of an ancient tradition that stretches back to the Nephilim themselves. The idea is that these secret societies, through their exclusive knowledge and rituals, may be connected to the ancient giants in ways that we can only begin to comprehend. The connection between the Nephilim and secret societies is not merely speculative. Throughout history, there have been countless examples of individuals and groups who have claimed to possess a special connection to these ancient beings or to the knowledge they left behind. In some cases, these claims are tied to powerful dynasties and royal families, many of whom are said to have descended from the Nephilim or other godlike beings. Some even point to the bloodlines of European monarchies, which, according to certain theories, are linked to the giants. The most famous of these bloodlines is the so-called Merovingian dynasty, a royal line that reigned in France during the early medieval period. According to some researchers, the Merovingians were descended from the Nephilim themselves, and their kings were said to possess extraordinary powers that were said to be inherited through their divine bloodline. The idea of a secret bloodline is also tied to one of the most enduring legends of the Western world, the Holy Grail. For centuries, the Grail has been depicted as a sacred relic, a vessel that holds the power of divine knowledge. But there are some who believe that the true Holy Grail is not a physical object, but rather a bloodline, specifically the bloodline of the Nephilim. According to this theory, the Grail is the bloodline of Christ, passed down through his descendants. Some researchers, including those who have delved into the mysteries of the Knights Templar, suggest that the Templars were guardians of this secret bloodline and its associated knowledge. The theory posits that the Templars, in their search for hidden relics and esoteric wisdom, may have been seeking to uncover the lost heritage of the Nephilim. Could it be that the Templars, like the Freemasons and other secret societies, were guarding the legacy of the giants, ensuring that their power would remain hidden until the right moment? As compelling as these theories are, they remain shrouded in mystery and intrigue. Despite the widespread interest in these hidden bloodlines and secret societies, much of the evidence is circumstantial at best. The true nature of these groups and their connections to the Nephilim is difficult to verify, and much of the information comes from obscure texts, rumors, and speculative interpretations. But the presence of these secretive organizations in modern society raises important questions. What if the Nephilim were not simply an ancient race that was wiped out by the flood, but a living, breathing legacy that has been kept hidden for centuries? What if their descendants still walk among us, hidden in plain sight, preserving the knowledge and power of their ancestors? The mystery of the Nephilim, then, is not confined to the past. It is a riddle that continues to reverberate through the present day, a question that remains unanswered, even as we search for clues in ancient texts, archaeological sites, and secret societies. Perhaps the Nephilim were not merely beings of ancient myth, but a reminder of a time when humanity was not alone in shaping the course of history. Perhaps, just as the giants of the past were erased from the historical record, so too have their descendants remained hidden, their power and knowledge concealed from the masses. The very possibility that the Nephilim's legacy continues to influence our world today is enough to send a shiver down the spine. As we explore the secrets of these ancient beings and their descendants, we are left with a haunting question. If the Nephilim are still out there, what is their purpose, and when will they reveal themselves? As we continue to unravel the mystery of the Nephilim, we begin to see a striking pattern emerge, one that challenges not only our understanding of ancient history, but also our modern worldview. The idea of giants, beings of extraordinary size and strength, is not confined to isolated ancient texts or the distant past. These stories of beings who walk among us, possessing hidden knowledge and power, appear throughout the folklore and mythology of cultures across the world. From the ancient Sumerians to the Norse, from the Greeks to the Native American tribes, stories of giant beings, often of divine or supernatural origin, are woven into the fabric of human culture. But what if these stories are not mere myths? What if they are fragments of a truth long suppressed, the remnants of a civilization whose legacy was too dangerous to reveal? One of the most enduring pieces of evidence for the Nephilim's influence lies in the ancient texts themselves, many of which were written down millennia ago. Among the most significant is the Book of Enoch, a text that predates the Bible and provides one of the most detailed accounts of the Nephilim and their origins. According to the Book of Enoch, the Nephilim were the offspring of the Watchers, a group of angels who descended to earth, saw the beauty of human women, and took them as wives. Their union created a race of beings who were both human and divine, giants who possessed incredible strength and wisdom. But their arrival on earth did not bring peace. Instead, their presence led to chaos and corruption. The Nephilim, with their great power, taught humanity forbidden knowledge, secrets of the heavens and the earth, leading to the spread of violence, war, and destruction. The Book of Enoch tells of the Watchers' eventual punishment, with the giants themselves being wiped from the earth by the great flood, sent to cleanse the world of their taint. Yet, as the floodwaters receded, the question remained, had the giants truly been wiped from existence, or did they leave behind something far more dangerous, something that would resurface when humanity was ready? This question of hidden knowledge is at the heart of the Nephilim mystery. The Book of Enoch speaks not only of giants, but also of the forbidden wisdom they imparted to humanity. The Nephilim, in this sense, were not just beings of physical power, but also bearers of a lost and dangerous knowledge. They taught humanity the secrets of the stars, the art of metalworking, the science of medicine, and even the dark arts of sorcery and necromancy. This knowledge, once bestowed upon the earth, would change the course of history forever. It is said that the giants gave humanity the tools to build great civilizations, but also the means to destroy them. The danger of this forbidden knowledge was so great that, according to some interpretations of the Book of Enoch, the angels who gave it to humanity were punished by being bound in chains and cast into the abyss. The idea that the Nephilim imparted forbidden knowledge to humanity has captured the imaginations of countless scholars, mystics, and conspiracy theorists throughout history. But what if this knowledge didn't simply vanish with the giants? What if it was preserved, hidden away in the corners of the earth, waiting to be rediscovered by those who could unlock its secrets? This idea has fueled numerous theories, suggesting that certain ancient societies, such as the Egyptians, the Greeks, and the Sumerians, were the inheritors of this hidden knowledge. The ancient temples and monuments they left behind, some believe, are not just architectural wonders, but also cryptic repositories of esoteric wisdom, encoded with symbols and messages meant to guide future generations. From the mysterious carvings of the Egyptian pyramids to the geometric precision of the megaliths at Göbekli Tepe, these sites are often seen as evidence that a higher, forgotten knowledge was passed down from the Nephilim. The most compelling evidence for this hidden knowledge may lie in the ancient mysteries themselves, secret teachings that have been preserved by societies such as the Freemasons, the Knights Templar, and other occult groups. Many of these secretive organizations trace their origins to ancient civilizations that were thought to possess advanced knowledge, and their symbols, rituals, and teachings often seem to point back to the giants of the past. The Freemasons, for example, have long been associated with the construction of great buildings, such as the United States Capitol, and their symbols are filled with references to geometry, architecture, and divine knowledge, concepts that were central to the teachings of the Nephilim. Some researchers believe that the Freemasons and other similar groups have kept the secrets of the Nephilim alive, passing them down through the generations, hidden in plain sight. These secrets are not just about the physical world. They are said to contain knowledge about the spiritual realm, the workings of the universe, and the true nature of human existence. If the Nephilim did indeed leave behind a legacy of forbidden knowledge, then it would stand to reason that some of this wisdom would have been hidden, not just from the general public, but from history itself. This is where the story takes a darker turn, and where the question of suppression and erasure comes into play. Many theorists argue that the legacy of the giants and the knowledge they passed down was deliberately suppressed by powerful institutions throughout history. The most obvious candidate for this oppression is the Catholic Church, which, during the Middle Ages, sought to control knowledge and power across Europe. The Church, in its efforts to establish dominion over both the physical and spiritual realms, would have had a vested interest in erasing any knowledge that could undermine its authority, including the teachings of the Nephilim. Some conspiracy theorists suggest that the Church deliberately suppressed the Book of Enoch and other apocryphal texts that contained references to the giants, keeping them out of the hands of the public to maintain control over the narrative of human history. This suppression of knowledge has continued into the modern era. Many ancient texts, including the Book of Enoch and other works that detail the Nephilim's actions, have been kept hidden in private collections or archives, inaccessible to the public. Similarly, many of the artifacts and remains that might provide evidence of the giants have been lost or locked away in museums and government vaults, away from the prying eyes of the public. As we look at the giants of the past, we must ask, why have they been hidden from us? What is it about their story and the knowledge they brought to Earth that makes it so dangerous? Is it the fear that the truth about the Nephilim could unravel our entire understanding of history, of civilization, and of the very fabric of reality itself? As we explore the depths of this mystery, we begin to see a picture emerge, not just of ancient giants, but of a struggle for control over the secrets of the past. The Nephilim, if they ever existed, were not just beings of power and strength. They were also the bearers of knowledge that could shape the future of humanity. And perhaps, just as their bloodline has survived in hidden corners of the world, so too has their knowledge, preserved by those who seek to control it. But what happens when the truth is finally revealed? What happens when the knowledge of the Nephilim, buried for so long, is brought to light? The answer, it seems, may hold the key to unlocking not just the past, but the future of humanity itself. As we venture deeper into the enigma of the Nephilim, we are drawn into a labyrinth of symbols, secret teachings, and hidden agendas, forces that stretch across millennia, intertwining the fates of ancient civilizations with the hidden powers that shape our world today. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Nephilim mystery is the symbolism associated with them, a web of hidden meanings that has been embedded into the art, architecture, and rituals of societies across the globe. These symbols are not random or incidental. They seem deliberately placed, their significance obscured by the veil of time. But could these symbols hold the key to understanding the true legacy of the Nephilim? Are they remnants of a hidden knowledge passed down through the ages, waiting for the right time to be fully uncovered? The most conspicuous and pervasive of these symbols is the Eye of Providence, the all-seeing eye, often depicted as a single eye encased in a triangle, surrounded by rays of light. This symbol is widely associated with the Freemasons, and it is famously seen on the Great Seal of the United States, adorning the back of the $1 bill. But its origins are far older than the modern Masonic order or the United States. In fact, the Eye of Providence has been found in ancient Egyptian, Sumerian, and even pre-Columbian cultures, all of which had some form of watching eye or divine overseer in their mythology. In many of these cultures, the eye was seen as a symbol of divine insight, representing the ability to see beyond the physical world into the realm of the gods and spirits. The connection between the Eye of Providence and the Nephilim is intriguing. In the Book of Enoch, the Watchers, the fallen angels who fathered the Nephilim, are said to possess knowledge that transcends the human realm. Their eyes can see into the hidden dimensions of existence, making them the perfect symbols of the Nephilim's hidden knowledge. The Watchers, as described in the ancient texts, were not mere physical beings. They were also the bearers of divine wisdom, capable of understanding the mysteries of the cosmos. Thus, the Eye of Providence may not simply be a symbol of oversight or divine watchfulness. It could also be a direct reference to the Nephilim and their watchers, the beings who once held the keys to forbidden knowledge. But the Eye of Providence is not the only symbol that links the Nephilim to secret societies. Across the world, there are numerous other symbols that seem to be associated with the giants, their bloodlines, or the knowledge they left behind. One of the most pervasive is the pentagram, a five-pointed star often used in occult rituals. The pentagram has been associated with a variety of mystical and esoteric traditions, but it also appears in the ancient symbolism of the Sumerians and Babylonians, cultures closely tied to the story of the Nephilim. In Sumerian iconography, the pentagram was often used to represent the star god Inanna, who, according to myth, descended from the heavens and shared forbidden knowledge with humanity. Inanna's story bears striking similarities to the tale of the Nephilim, particularly in the idea that these beings descended from the heavens, bringing with them knowledge that transformed human civilization. The pentagram, in this context, can be seen as a symbol of the Nephilim's divine heritage, the 5 points representing the 5 elements of creation, as well as the powerful, transformative knowledge they imparted. In occult traditions, the pentagram is also associated with the power to control the elements, a concept that ties back to the Nephilim's ability to shape the natural world with their advanced understanding of science and magic. But the symbolism doesn't stop there. The serpent, another potent symbol in ancient cultures, is often linked to the Nephilim in ways that suggest their association with both wisdom and danger. The serpent appears frequently in ancient mythologies, particularly in the Garden of Eden story, where it is depicted as a bearer of forbidden knowledge. In the Bible, the serpent tempts Eve to eat the fruit from the tree of knowledge, an act that leads to the fall of mankind. However, in many ancient traditions, the serpent is not a symbol of evil, but one of enlightenment and transformation. In Sumerian and Babylonian mythology, the serpent god Enki was said to possess the knowledge of the heavens and the earth, much like the Nephilim. This connection between the serpent and the Nephilim is particularly evident in the ancient Mesopotamian myth of the Anunnaki, a group of deities who, much like the Nephilim, descended from the heavens to bestow knowledge upon humanity. The Anunnaki were said to have taught the Sumerians the secrets of agriculture, writing, and mathematics. But they were also associated with the serpent, representing the duality of knowledge, the wisdom to elevate humanity, but also the dangers that such knowledge could bring. The serpent, then, becomes a symbol not only of divine insight, but also of the hidden dangers that come with understanding the forces of nature and the cosmos. The idea of hidden knowledge, concealed in symbols, is not just an ancient mystery. It is a thread that runs through the very fabric of modern secret societies. The Freemasons, in particular, have long been associated with esoteric symbolism and ancient knowledge, much of which seems to echo the teachings of the Nephilim. Many of the symbols and rituals used by the Freemasons, such as the all-seeing eye, the compass and square, and the pentagram, are thought to have origins that trace back to the ancient civilizations that encountered the Nephilim. The Freemasons themselves have long been rumored to possess knowledge passed down from the builders of ancient monuments, possibly including those who built the megalithic structures that seem to defy modern understanding. The connection between the Nephilim and these secret societies raises a compelling question. Could the giants have intentionally passed down their knowledge to certain bloodlines, ensuring that their legacy would continue? What if the powerful symbols and secret teachings of these organizations are not just arbitrary rituals, but rather a coded language designed to protect the knowledge of the Nephilim from being lost to time? This theory suggests that these ancient symbols are not only historical relics, but are alive and active, influencing the course of history even today. It is important to note that these symbols, though veiled in mystery, do not necessarily indicate that the Nephilim are pulling the strings behind the scenes. Rather, they may be markers of a deeper, more ancient truth, a truth that has been guarded, passed down, and preserved by those who understand its power. The symbols of the Nephilim, scattered across the world and embedded in the architecture of both ancient and modern societies, may serve as a key to unlocking the secrets of their true legacy. If we are to understand who the Nephilim were and what they truly left behind, we must learn to read these symbols as they were meant to be read, just as the initiates of ancient societies were once taught to decipher their hidden meanings. In the end, the symbols of the Nephilim are not just relics of a forgotten past. They are the keys to a mystery that stretches across time, a mystery that has been buried by those who seek to control knowledge and power. As we search for answers, we must look beyond the symbols themselves and ask, what do they truly represent? And what secrets are waiting to be revealed, hidden in plain sight, for those brave enough to decode their meaning? As we delve even deeper into the narrative of the Nephilim and their influence on human history, it becomes increasingly clear that these beings were not just physical giants. They were also the harbingers of profound transformations in the very fabric of human civilization. The Nephilim, if they were indeed real, were not isolated figures in mythological stories. Their presence is woven into the earliest historical records of mankind, and their influence continues to resonate, echoing through the myths, legends, and suppressed knowledge that survive to this day. But what is the true nature of their impact? Did the Nephilim leave behind a legacy that shaped the foundations of the societies we know today? Or were they part of a larger cosmic agenda that aimed to elevate humanity to a new stage of development? Many scholars and theorists believe that the giants were more than just legendary figures. They were active participants in the evolution of human culture and civilization. This belief is rooted in the ancient accounts of the Nephilim, which suggests that their presence on Earth was not limited to a single moment in time. Instead, they were integral to the rise of ancient cultures, particularly those of the Sumerians, Egyptians, and other Mesopotamian societies. According to certain interpretations of these ancient texts, the Nephilim were involved in the creation of advanced knowledge systems, helping to establish the foundations of writing, mathematics, astronomy, and architecture. The very rise of civilization, it seems, could be attributed in part to the Nephilim's interventions. In Sumerian texts, for example, the gods, who are often identified with the Nephilim, are credited with the gift of writing. The god Enki, one of the most prominent figures in Sumerian mythology, is depicted as a bringer of knowledge and culture to humanity. Enki's role in teaching the Sumerians the secrets of writing and governance mirrors the stories of the Nephilim, who, according to the Book of Enoch, imparted forbidden knowledge to humankind. In this way, the Nephilim are seen not as destroyers, but as creators and teachers, beings who catalyze the rapid advancement of human society through their superior wisdom. The ancient Egyptian civilization, too, bears the fingerprints of these mysterious beings. The pyramids, one of the most enduring symbols of ancient Egypt, are believed by many to be the result of knowledge that was passed down by the Nephilim or their progeny. How else could such monumental structures, precisely aligned with the stars, have been built using primitive tools? The precision and astronomical alignments of the pyramids suggest a level of knowledge far beyond what would have been available to ancient peoples, leading some to speculate that the Nephilim's advanced understanding of geometry, astronomy, and engineering was involved in their construction. Whether or not the giants directly helped build the pyramids, their legacy seems to be embedded in the very DNA of ancient Egypt's most significant accomplishments. The idea that the Nephilim were key players in the establishment of the ancient world's most advanced cultures is not confined to the Near East. In fact, the influence of the giants can be traced across the globe, from the ancient Americas to the distant Pacific Islands. The megalithic structures found in places such as Göbekli Tepe in Turkey and Easter Island in the Pacific are often cited as evidence of a lost, pre-flood civilization. A civilization that was somehow far more advanced than previously thought, particularly in terms of astronomy and architecture. These structures, which predate recorded history, are believed by some to be the work of the Nephilim or their descendants. The sheer scale of these monuments, the precision with which they were built, and the alignment of many with celestial bodies suggest a deep knowledge of astronomy and geometry, skills that were far ahead of their time. And if these structures were indeed created by beings of extraordinary size and intelligence, they serve as a stark reminder of the power that the Nephilim might have wielded during their time on Earth. Moreover, the legacy of the Nephilim is not just reflected in the monumental works they left behind. It is also evident in the spiritual teachings and mystical knowledge that have persisted through the ages. Ancient religions, particularly those of the Near East, often depict gods or divine beings that were capable of teaching humanity profound spiritual truths that seem to transcend the physical world. The knowledge imparted by the Nephilim, as described in the Book of Enoch, was not limited to the material realm but extended to matters of the soul, the spirit, and the heavens. It is in these esoteric teachings that we find the true depth of the Nephilim's legacy. Many of these teachings are thought to have been passed down through secretive channels, often hidden in plain sight. The mystery schools of ancient Egypt, Greece, and Rome were said to preserve sacred knowledge related to the divine, the cosmos, and the nature of existence. These teachings, passed down from generation to generation, may very well have originated from the Nephilim or those who were close to them. The Hermetic tradition, for example, which arose in the Hellenistic period and became the foundation for much of Western esotericism, echoes the teachings attributed to the giants. Central to Hermeticism is the idea that humanity can transcend the material world and achieve spiritual enlightenment through the acquisition of divine knowledge, a concept that mirrors the wisdom attributed to the Nephilim. In more recent times, the legacy of the Nephilim continues to be felt, though in much subtler ways. The occult and secret societies of the modern world, groups like the Freemasons, the Rosicrucians, and others, are often seen as the modern-day custodians of this ancient wisdom. These groups, whose origins are shrouded in mystery, have long been associated with the preservation of sacred knowledge, much of which is said to trace back to the time of the Nephilim. The rituals, symbols, and teachings of these societies often mirror those of the ancient mystery schools, suggesting that the wisdom imparted by the giants did not vanish with the flood, but was preserved by select groups throughout history. In this sense, the Nephilim's influence may still be active in the modern world, though in a much more concealed and cryptic form. The Nephilim's role in shaping human civilization and their continued presence in modern esoteric traditions suggest that their legacy is not just about what they left behind in the material world. Rather, it is about the profound impact they had on the very development of human consciousness. The giants were not simply beings of physical power. They were the bearers of knowledge that would forever change humanity's understanding of the cosmos and its place within it. As such, the Nephilim are not just figures of the past. They are integral to the very fabric of human history, and their influence continues to echo through the ages, waiting for the moment when the full scope of their legacy can be understood. In this sense, the true mystery of the Nephilim may not lie in their physical existence, but in the profound spiritual and intellectual inheritance they left behind. As we move further into the mystery of the Nephilim, we begin to uncover a deeper, more cryptic layer of their legacy, the idea that their descendants might still walk among us today. This concept has long been a subject of fascination for researchers, conspiracy theorists, and historians alike. The theory that the bloodlines of the Nephilim survived the ancient cataclysms and continued to influence the course of human history is not just speculative. It is embedded within the hidden corridors of ancient traditions, occult societies, and even modern-day geopolitics. The question that arises, then, is whether these bloodlines still exist today, and if so, how they might be influencing the world from behind the scenes. To explore this idea, we must first understand the role that bloodlines have played in human history, particularly in relation to power and influence. Across many ancient cultures, the idea of divine or semi-divine bloodlines was central to the way rulers and kings legitimized their authority. Pharaohs in Egypt, for example, were believed to be direct descendants of the gods, and their divine right to rule was based on this perceived connection to the divine realm. Similarly, the kings of ancient Mesopotamia and even later rulers in Europe often traced their lineage back to gods or semi-divine figures, asserting that their right to govern was rooted in a supernatural bloodline that could be traced back to celestial ancestors. In this context, the Nephilim were not just powerful beings who once roamed the earth. They were the original bearers of a divine bloodline, a bloodline that could transcend the ordinary bounds of humanity. The Nephilim were the offspring of the Watchers, fallen angels who mingled with human women, according to the Book of Enoch, and as such, their blood was considered to be of a superior, otherworldly nature. This divine or semi-divine heritage would have given the Nephilim an unprecedented level of power, both physically and intellectually. The question arises, could this bloodline have been preserved through the generations? And if so, to what extent has it influenced the course of human history? In the Book of Enoch, it is suggested that the Nephilim were not just giants in stature, but giants in intellect, possessing knowledge that was far beyond that of ordinary humans. Their wisdom, passed down through the ages, is said to have shaped the foundations of human culture and society. But what if this knowledge didn't just disappear with the Great Flood? What if it was passed down through the generations, hidden from masses, and kept in secret by those who understood its power? This brings us to a fascinating theory that has been circulating for centuries: the existence of hidden bloodlines, descendants of the Nephilim who may still hold significant sway over modern society. These bloodlines, it is suggested, are carefully guarded, protected, and perpetuated by secret societies and elite organizations that have long controlled the corridors of power. The idea is that these individuals, whose ancestry is said to be traced directly back to the Nephilim, have maintained their influence through strategic marriages, alliances, and control over key global institutions. In this way, the descendants of the Nephilim could still hold sway over the world's political, economic, and social systems, though their influence is often veiled behind layers of secrecy and obscured by centuries of manipulation. One of the most famous proponents of this theory is the royal family of England, which, according to certain researchers, is believed by some to trace its bloodline back to the ancient Nephilim. The claim is that the British royal family, and by extension other European monarchies, possess a direct lineage that extends all the way back to the giants. Some conspiracy theorists even argue that these royal families, in addition to their bloodline, hold access to secret knowledge that is inherited from the Nephilim themselves, a knowledge that has been carefully guarded and passed down through generations. While these claims remain speculative, there is an undeniable historical pattern of powerful families intermarrying in order to maintain their royal status and divine right to rule. Beyond the royal families, secret societies such as the Freemasons, Illuminati, and Rosicrucians have long been associated with the preservation of esoteric knowledge. These groups are often rumored to have connections to ancient wisdom that was passed down by the Nephilim or their progeny. The symbols, rituals, and teachings of these societies frequently allude to divine or celestial ancestry, suggesting that the knowledge of the Nephilim may have been safeguarded by these secretive organizations for thousands of years. Some theorists claim that members of these societies are directly descended from the Nephilim, and that their control over global events is part of a much larger, hidden agenda. The modern-day influence of these supposed Nephilim bloodlines is not limited to just the political and royal elite. Some researchers suggest that they also hold sway in corporate and financial sectors, where immense power is concentrated in the hands of a few influential families and organizations. These families, they argue, could trace their wealth and influence back to the ancient Nephilim, and through strategic investments, economic control, and political lobbying, they continue to guide the course of human history in a way that serves their interests. If the descendants of the Nephilim do exist today, their power could extend far beyond what most of us perceive as normal power structures. This idea of a hidden lineage is also connected to the mystery schools that have flourished throughout history. These schools, like those of the Pythagoreans, Hermeticists, and Gnostics, were often centered around the preservation and transmission of ancient knowledge, much of which is believed to have originated with the Nephilim. The teachings and philosophies passed down through these schools were, and in some cases still are, considered to be part of a hidden tradition, a tradition that involves understanding the true nature of the universe and the divine. These teachings may, in fact, be coded messages from the Nephilim themselves, designed to guide their descendants toward the ultimate goal of reclaiming their lost inheritance. But perhaps the most intriguing aspect of this theory is the idea that these Nephilim bloodlines have a long-term agenda, a plan that spans centuries or even millennia. The theory suggests that the descendants of the Nephilim are not simply passive heirs to a divine legacy, but active participants in a grand design to shape humanity's destiny. Whether this destiny involves the return of the giants themselves or the continuation of their intellectual and spiritual legacy, the Nephilim's influence is said to persist in the shadows of history, guiding and shaping the course of human events according to a hidden blueprint. While all of this remains speculative, it is clear that the Nephilim continue to captivate our imagination because they represent something far greater than just ancient myths and legends. The possibility that their descendants are still among us today opens up a new realm of possibilities, one where the true rulers of the world may not be who we think they are, but rather a hidden elite, heirs to a lost legacy that goes back to the dawn of human civilization. The mystery of the Nephilim and the bloodlines they left behind continues to haunt our collective consciousness, reminding us that the true history of humanity may still be far stranger and more mysterious than we ever imagined. As we approach the heart of the Nephilim mystery, we find that the tales of giants are not confined to ancient text alone. There are those who believe that these beings left behind far more than just stories and myths. They left behind clues, hidden in plain sight, embedded in our landscapes, monuments, and even sacred sites. These clues, many argue, point to a lost civilization of advanced knowledge and power, a civilization built by beings who were both human and divine. And while mainstream history may dismiss these ideas as superstition or folklore, a growing number of researchers, archaeologists, and theorists are beginning to uncover a different narrative, one that challenges everything we thought we knew about ancient history and the origins of human civilization. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence cited by those who believe in the legacy of the Nephilim is the mysterious megalithic structures found across the globe. From the massive stone circles of Stonehenge in England to the giant, precisely cut blocks at Sacsayhuaman in Peru, These structures all seem to defy the conventional understanding of ancient human capabilities. How could ancient cultures, supposedly primitive by today's standards, have constructed such monumental structures with such precision and ingenuity? The stones at Sacsayhuaman, for example, fit together so tightly that not even a piece of paper can be inserted between them. The stones at Baalbek in Lebanon are so massive that they have defied modern engineering efforts to replicate them. This raises the question, could these structures have been the work of beings who possessed knowledge and technology far beyond the capabilities of their contemporaries? Some researchers believe that these sites are the remnants of an ancient civilization connected to the Nephilim, a civilization that existed long before recorded history, and which used advanced techniques that have been lost to time. The pyramids of Giza in Egypt, with their stunning precision and astronomical alignments, are perhaps the most famous example of these mysterious constructions. The sheer scale of the pyramids and their alignment with the stars suggest that they were not simply burial sites for pharaohs, as mainstream history suggests, but rather sites of cosmic significance, built using knowledge that could have come from a source far beyond human understanding. Some theorists point to the possibility that the pyramids were built with the help of the Nephilim or their descendants, using technology and knowledge that have been passed down from the giants. The exact purpose of the pyramids remains one of history's greatest mysteries, but many believe they were designed to align with celestial bodies and serve as portals to higher dimensions of existence. In Mesoamerica, the giant stone pyramids of the Maya and Aztec civilizations also hold clues that could be connected to the Nephilim. The Mayan pyramids, with their mathematical precision and alignment with astronomical events, suggest that the Maya had knowledge of the stars and the cosmos that was far ahead of their time. The idea that the Mayans may have inherited this knowledge from a race of giants is supported by certain interpretations of ancient texts and myths. The Popol Vuh, the creation myth of the Maya, tells of a time when the gods walked among humans, teaching them important knowledge about the world. Could these gods have been the Nephilim, or beings like them, imparting their wisdom to the Mayan people? Many scholars of ancient Mesoamerican cultures believe that the Mayans were recipients of a divine gift of knowledge, one that could have been passed down from an ancient civilization of giants. The search for hidden evidence of the Nephilim is not limited to ancient ruins and mysterious structures. In fact, there are those who argue that the key to understanding the Nephilim lies in sacred texts, many of which contain cryptic messages that, when interpreted correctly, reveal hidden truths about the giants and their role in human history. The Book of Enoch, one of the most important and controversial texts in the Christian Apocrypha, tells of the Watchers, a group of angels who descended to earth and took human wives, resulting in the creation of the Nephilim. But the Book of Enoch is far more than just a story of divine rebellion. It is a treasure trove of hidden knowledge, filled with prophecies, celestial wisdom, and codes that may reveal the true nature of the Nephilim and their place in the universe. The Book of Enoch describes the Nephilim as beings of great power, but also as beings who possessed forbidden knowledge, knowledge that was passed down to humanity in the form of esoteric teachings. These teachings, according to the text, were of such importance that they were hidden away, lost to history, and only accessible to those who were initiated into the sacred mysteries. Many researchers believe that these teachings were not just about material science or engineering, but also about the nature of the cosmos, the soul, and humanity's ultimate purpose in the grand design of creation. Some even suggest that the true role of the Nephilim was to bring humanity to a higher state of consciousness, to prepare us for a transformation that would elevate us to a new level of existence, an event that has been described in esoteric circles as the Ascension. In addition to sacred texts, there are ancient maps and geographical anomalies that also point to the Nephilim's influence. In the late 20th century, researchers uncovered a set of maps, known as the Pyrie-Reis map, which depicts the coastlines of Antarctica without ice, suggesting that the continent was once free of ice and that an ancient civilization had mapped the world long before it was supposed to have been discovered. This map, along with other ancient sea charts, suggests that knowledge of the Earth's geography was far more advanced in ancient times than previously believed. Some theorists argue that the Nephilim, with their advanced knowledge of the stars and the Earth, may have been the ones to create these maps, and that they held knowledge of lost civilizations, hidden continents, and ancient lands that have since been forgotten by history. The presence of these ancient clues, whether in the form of megalithic structures, sacred texts, or mysterious maps, begs the question, what was the true purpose of the Nephilim, and why were they erased from history? Were they a race of giants who sought to help humanity reach its full potential, only to be destroyed by the very people they try to uplift? Or were they, in fact, part of a much larger cosmic plan, one that involved the manipulation and control of human civilization for reasons that are still hidden from us today? The answer may lie in the continued search for hidden knowledge that has been carefully guarded and concealed by those who understand its power. As we continue to unravel the mystery of the Nephilim, it becomes apparent that they were not simply mythical beings or ancient giants. They were the architects of a hidden history, one that continues to shape our world today. The remnants of their civilization, though often buried beneath the sands of time, still whisper their secrets to those who are willing to listen. The Nephilim, it seems, may not be as far removed from our own time as we once thought. And perhaps, just perhaps, their return, whether in spirit, knowledge, or form, may still be part of humanity's future. In exploring the enduring legacy of the Nephilim, we must shift our focus to a subject that has captivated generations of researchers, conspiracy theorists, and occult scholars alike: the role of ancient prophecies and hidden knowledge in relation to the giants and their descendants. Across cultures and religions, there are recurring themes of a return or awakening of powerful, otherworldly beings who are often depicted as giants, fallen angels, or divine entities. These prophecies, found in texts ranging from the Bible to ancient Sumerian and Mayan scriptures, seem to predict a moment in time when the Nephilim, or entities akin to them, will re-emerge to influence the fate of humanity. The most well-known and widely discussed prophecy regarding the return of the Nephilim comes from the Bible itself. In the book of Genesis, we find a brief but chilling reference to the Nephilim. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown. This passage has long been the subject of debate and speculation. Who were these sons of God, and what does it mean that they had children by them? According to many traditional interpretations, this verse refers to the union of angels and humans, giving rise to a race of beings who were neither fully human nor fully divine. But beyond their physical existence, these giants were thought to possess extraordinary wisdom and power, abilities that could have shaped human civilization in ways that are now obscured by history. But the Bible doesn't just tell us of the Nephilim's origins, it also hints at their return. Many interpret the passage in Genesis as a foretelling of events that would occur in the distant future, specifically in the end times. These interpretations, often referred to as prophetic eschatology, suggest that the Nephilim, or their descendants, will re-emerge in the final days to bring about a new era. The book of Revelation, the last book of the New Testament, contains numerous cryptic prophecies about beings who come from the heavens, causing great upheaval on earth. While the Nephilim are not directly mentioned in Revelation, the descriptions of angels, fallen beings, and the forces of chaos could be symbolic of their eventual return. Throughout history, this notion of a return of the giants has resonated in numerous cultures and belief systems. In Mesoamerican traditions, for instance, there are numerous myths of gods descending from the heavens, teaching humanity great knowledge, and then mysteriously disappearing, only to return at a future time when humanity is ready for them. The Mayan calendar, in particular, plays a significant role in these prophecies. The calendar famously ended on December 21st, 2012, leading to widespread speculation about the end of the world or a shift in cosmic consciousness. While mainstream interpretations of the Mayan prophecy centered around the idea of a new age of enlightenment, some alternative historians and esoteric theorists argued that the calendar's end signaled the return of powerful celestial beings, possibly the Nephilim or their descendants. Similarly, the Sumerian texts, with their depictions of the Anunnaki, gods from the stars, tell of a time when these beings will return to Earth. Many alternative theorists connect the Anunnaki to the Nephilim, suggesting that these gods were, in fact, the same beings described in Genesis and other ancient scriptures. The Sumerian tablets contain detailed accounts of how the Anunnaki came to Earth to teach humanity, but their return is often linked to apocalyptic visions. In these texts, the return of the Anunnaki is not a simple reunion with humanity. It is portrayed as a time of judgment, transformation, and upheaval. This idea of a divine or semi-divine return echoes through multiple civilizations and serves to deepen the mystery of the Nephilim's true role in shaping human destiny. The Quran, too, contains allusions to beings who descend from the heavens, offering guidance and wisdom to humanity. While the Quran does not mention the Nephilim by name, certain interpretations of Islamic texts suggest that there are fallen angels, similar to the Watchers in the Book of Enoch, who mingled with humans and left behind their offspring. The Quran, in its prophetic tradition, speaks of a time when the earth will be renewed and a battle between good and evil will take place. Events that many correlate with the idea of the Nephilim returning to Earth to influence humanity's fate. These ancient prophecies raise fascinating questions about the Nephilim's role in the future. Are these prophecies merely symbolic, or do they point to a literal event, one in which the Nephilim or their descendants will return to Earth? For some, the alignment of these prophecies across multiple cultures and belief systems is too significant to ignore. It suggests that there may be a deeper truth, one that has been hidden in plain sight for millennia, regarding the Nephilim's impact on human history and their eventual reappearance. But how could such a return manifest? In modern times, the idea of giants walking among us may seem absurd to the average person. Yet, there are numerous conspiracy theories and occult traditions that suggest the Nephilim never truly disappeared. They simply went underground. According to these theories, the bloodlines of the Nephilim were preserved, carefully hidden by secret societies, royal families, and powerful elites who continue to shape the world in their image. This hidden class, it is believed, carries with it the ancient wisdom and knowledge of the giants, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves once again. The New World Order conspiracy theory, for example, posits that an elite group of individuals, often depicted as descendants of ancient bloodlines, is manipulating global events to bring about a new age, an era where they will have ultimate control over humanity. Some suggest that these elites believe they are the descendants of the Nephilim, and that their rise to power is part of a grand cosmic plan. The ultimate goal, according to this theory, is the establishment of a new world order in which the descendants of the Nephilim will rule over humanity as gods. Others point to UFO sightings, the rise of advanced technology, and the increasing interest in transhumanism as possible signs of a new awakening. Could the return of the Nephilim be symbolized in the sudden appearance of strange, seemingly impossible technologies? Could the giants' return involve not just a physical reemergence, but a spiritual awakening, where humanity transcends its current limitations and evolves into a new form of existence, perhaps merging with artificial intelligence or achieving godlike abilities? These possibilities align with ancient prophecies that predict the ultimate transformation of humanity, an event where humans and gods might once again walk the earth together. This idea of transformation, of an imminent awakening or return, may be why the Nephilim continue to captivate us. Whether one believes in the literal return of the giants or views them as metaphorical symbols for human potential, the concept of their reappearance holds great significance. It speaks to a desire for deeper knowledge, for a connection with our divine ancestors, and for the possibility of a higher, more enlightened existence. The Nephilim may not simply be figures of the past. They may be harbingers of the future, reminding us that our journey is far from over, and that the next phase of our evolution may be far stranger and more mysterious than we ever imagined. The notion of the Nephilim as an ancient, hidden race of giants with godlike abilities invites many questions about their true nature and purpose in human history. But there is another critical aspect of their story that demands attention: the secret societies and esoteric traditions that have long been associated with them. For centuries, organizations shrouded in mystery, power, and occult knowledge have purported to guard the truth about the Nephilim, using symbols, codes, and rituals to pass down this knowledge from generation to generation. These secret societies, some of which have shaped the course of history, claim to hold the key to understanding the Nephilim and their ultimate plan for humanity's future. One of the most prominent of these secretive organizations is the Freemasons, whose members have been linked to ancient mysteries and arcane knowledge. Though the Freemasons' true origins remain obscured, many theorists believe that the organization draws its lineage back to the ancient world, possibly even to the lost civilizations associated with the Nephilim. Some suggest that the Freemasons inherited their knowledge from a distant, forgotten time, an era when giants ruled the earth and imparted wisdom about the stars, the earth, and the cosmos to the people of that age. This knowledge, according to this view, was carefully preserved by the Freemasons and other secret societies, passed down through coded symbols and ritualistic practices. One of the most important symbols used by the Freemasons is the all-seeing eye, often depicted as an eye within a triangle radiating light. The symbol is widely recognized, appearing on the Great Seal of the United States and various other important emblems. Many esotericists believe that the all-seeing eye represents not just divine enlightenment, but a higher form of knowledge that was once held by the Nephilim themselves. The eye, according to some interpretations, represents the ability to see beyond the physical world, to gain access to the hidden realms of existence, just as the Nephilim were believed to possess supernatural vision and wisdom. In this context, the Freemasons' use of the all-seeing eye may be a direct reference to the ancient knowledge of the giants, a hidden treasure that only the initiated can truly understand. But the Freemasons are far from the only secret society with ties to the Nephilim. In fact, many of the most influential organizations throughout history, such as the Rosicrucians, the Knights Templar, and the Illuminati, have been associated with hidden knowledge and the pursuit of esoteric truths that may relate to the ancient giants. The Rosicrucians, for example, are said to have emerged in the 17th century, but their symbols and rituals appear to draw heavily on earlier mystical traditions. Some scholars believe that the Rosicrucians were not merely a religious order, but a continuation of the ancient mystery schools that had preserved the knowledge of the Nephilim and their descendants. The Knights Templar, an order that rose to prominence during the Crusades, have long been rumored to have discovered sacred relics, such as the Ark of the Covenant or the Holy Grail, that are believed to contain hidden knowledge linked to the Nephilim. The Templars' secretive nature and their association with mysticism and the occult have made them the subject of countless conspiracy theories. Some believe that the Templars, after their suppression in the early 14th century, continued to operate in the shadows, passing down ancient knowledge to future generations of secret societies. The Templar connection to the Nephilim is particularly intriguing, as it ties these legendary figures to key artifacts of biblical and apocalyptic significance, further blending the lines between history, legend, and occult mystery. Perhaps the most famous secret society of all, at least in terms of its public image, is the Illuminati, Although the historical Illuminati was a short-lived 18th century organization, many believe that it did not truly disappear. Instead, it is thought to have gone underground, operating in secret and continuing its pursuit of control over global affairs. Conspiracy theorists frequently link the Illuminati to a long-standing occult tradition that includes knowledge of the Nephilim and the ancient wisdom of the giants. In this view, the Illuminati represents a modern-day manifestation of the ancient desire to harness the power of the Nephilim for the purpose of controlling humanity's destiny. The Illuminati's use of symbolism, such as the pyramid with the all-seeing eye at its apex, may serve as a reminder of their connection to these ancient beings and the hidden knowledge they sought to control. What these secret societies share in common is a deep reverence for hidden knowledge, a reverence that stretches back to a time when the Nephilim were believed to have shared their wisdom with humanity. The idea that the Nephilim were not merely mythological creatures, but real, tangible beings who interacted with humanity is one that has resonated with certain occult groups throughout history. These groups believe that the Nephilim's wisdom was not simply about material power, but about understanding the universe at a profound spiritual level. As such, the knowledge passed down by these societies was not only about controlling the physical world, but also about manipulating the spiritual and metaphysical realms. Throughout history, there have been those who have sought to unlock the mysteries of the Nephilim, often through occult practices such as alchemy, astrology, divination, and ritual magic. Alchemists, for example, were said to be attempting to transform base metals into gold, but they were also believed to be in search of the Philosopher's Stone, an alchemical substance that was said to grant immortality or spiritual enlightenment. The Philosopher's Stone, in many esoteric traditions, is connected to the idea of the elixir of life, a substance that could bestow upon a user the power of the gods. Could the Nephilim have had access to such knowledge? And did they leave behind clues to its discovery? Some believe that the occult traditions that emerged in the Renaissance and continue to exist today are connected to the ancient quest for this hidden knowledge. As we delve deeper into the secret societies that have guarded the knowledge of the Nephilim, we are faced with a troubling realization that these societies, for all their mystique and promise of enlightenment, may not have simply sought to preserve ancient knowledge. They may have also sought to manipulate it for their own purposes. In this sense, the story of the Nephilim is not just one of forgotten history. It is also a story of power and control. Those who have held the keys to the secrets of the giants have often been those who wield power over the masses. The question then becomes, is the knowledge of the Nephilim being kept hidden to protect humanity, or is it being suppressed to maintain a status quo of control? The legacy of the Nephilim, encoded in the rituals and symbols of these secret societies, is not just an ancient story. It is a living, breathing force that continues to influence the course of human events today. Whether we acknowledge it or not, the quest for this hidden knowledge is ongoing, and the question of the Nephilim's true role in shaping human destiny remains unanswered. What is clear, however, is that the pursuit of their knowledge has played a significant role in shaping the trajectory of civilization. And as the world continues to change, we may find that the Nephilim, whether in the form of secret societies, ancient prophecies, or hidden wisdom, will continue to cast their shadow over humanity's future. As we continue our exploration of the Nephilim, we inevitably arrive at a topic that is as mysterious as it is controversial: the role of ancient artifacts and unexplained discoveries in revealing the truth behind these giants and their influence on human history. From strange stone monuments to cryptic inscriptions, from hidden temples to enigmatic relics, humanity's history is filled with physical evidence that may hold the key to unlocking the mystery of the Nephilim. Yet, much of this evidence remains either ignored, suppressed, or misunderstood, leaving us to wonder, could the artifacts and ancient structures we have uncovered be pointing us toward a lost, hidden chapter of our past, one that involves beings of extraordinary power? One of the most compelling examples of an ancient artifact tied to the Nephilim story is the giant megalithic structures scattered around the globe. From the pyramids of Egypt to the megalithic temples of Malta, from the Stonehenge complex in Britain to the Easter Island Moai statues, humanity has left behind monumental structures that defy modern understanding. These structures, with their massive stones weighing hundreds, sometimes thousands, of tons, have puzzled historians, archaeologists, and engineers for centuries. How were such structures built? What technologies were used? And most crucially, why were they built with such precision, scale, and grandeur? Some believe that the answer to these questions lies in the theory that ancient civilizations, perhaps even the Nephilim themselves, possessed advanced knowledge and technologies far beyond what we assume was available at the time. The pyramids of Giza are perhaps the most famous of these ancient structures. While mainstream archaeology suggests that they were built by human labor using rudimentary tools, some researchers have posited that these structures could not have been constructed without the help of advanced knowledge, possibly passed down from an ancient, superior race like the Nephilim. The sheer scale of the pyramids, their alignment with the stars, and their geometric precision are not easily explained by conventional methods. Some alternative historians argue that the Nephilim, or beings with similar abilities, may have had a hand in building these structures, using knowledge of geometry, astronomy, and energy manipulation that has since been lost. Similarly, the megalithic temples of Malta, ancient stone structures built more than 5,000 years ago, raise similar questions. These temples, constructed with massive stones that weigh up to 20 tons each, were built long before the rise of the ancient Egyptians and other well-known civilizations. How could such early cultures, with no apparent knowledge of advanced engineering or construction techniques, have created these monuments? Some theorists suggest that these sites were built by giants, beings capable of moving and manipulating enormous stones with ease. The temples themselves are aligned with celestial events, suggesting that their creators had a sophisticated understanding of astronomy, a knowledge that might have been passed down from the Nephilim, who were believed to have originated from stars. Beyond just megalithic structures, there are a number of mysterious artifacts that have surfaced over the centuries, artifacts that suggest the presence of beings who are far more advanced than those around them. One such example is the Sumerian cylinder seals, small engraved stones that depict gods and otherworldly beings, often interacting with humans. Many of these seals feature depictions of giants or beings who appear to be larger than life, figures that could be interpreted as the Nephilim themselves. These seals have been found across ancient Sumer, and their artwork often portrays interactions between these divine or semi-divine figures and human beings, suggesting that these beings played a significant role in the development of ancient cultures. Another intriguing discovery is the ancient texts from Mesopotamia and other early civilizations. The Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest known works of literature, tells the story of a king who seeks the help of an immortal being named Utnapishtim to learn the secret of eternal life. Utnapishtim's role in the narrative mirrors many of the qualities ascribed to the Nephilim. He is an ancient being with wisdom far beyond human understanding, and his knowledge of the world is depicted as coming from an earlier, more advanced era. The presence of beings like Utnapishtim, who are both human and divine, hints at a time when gods, or beings resembling them, walked the earth, potentially guiding or influencing the course of human history. Perhaps one of the most significant discoveries in this context is the Antikythera mechanism, an ancient Greek analog computer that was discovered in 1901 in the Antikythera shipwreck off the coast of a small Greek island. The device, believed to date back to around 100 BCE, was used to predict astronomical positions and eclipses. What makes the Antikythera mechanism so fascinating is that its level of technological sophistication far exceeds what was thought possible for its time. The precision of its gears and the complexity of its design suggest that its creators had access to knowledge that, at the time, should have been well beyond the capabilities of ancient civilizations. Some proponents of the Nephilim theory argue that such technological marvels could have been handed down by the Nephilim, who were believed to have knowledge of the stars, mathematics, and advanced technologies that were inaccessible to the average human of the time. Another artifact that has intrigued researchers is the Saxonspiegel, a medieval manuscript that contains illustrations of giants living alongside humans. The Saxonspiegel depicts towering figures, some of whom are shown with supernatural strength and abilities. These giants are often shown as rulers or sages, governing over people and guiding them. Though the manuscript was created in the 13th century, its depiction of giants as real, historical figures challenges modern interpretations of the ancient world and reinforces the idea that these beings were more than mere myth. Equally perplexing are the giant skeletons that have occasionally been discovered in various parts of the world. Throughout history, reports of unusually large human remains have surfaced in places like North America, the Middle East, and even parts of Europe. In some cases, these remains were said to be over 12 feet tall, well beyond the size of any known human being. Skeptics often dismiss these reports as hoaxes or misinterpretations, but the sheer number of these claims suggests that something deeper might be at play. If these remains are authentic, they may represent physical evidence of the Nephilim, or, at the very least, of a lost race of giants whose existence has been deliberately erased from the historical record. While many of these discoveries remain controversial, they point to a disturbing possibility that the Nephilim, or beings like them, may have once roamed the earth, leaving behind physical traces of their existence that have been hidden, ignored, or suppressed by those who wish to keep the truth buried. Whether through ancient artifacts, giant skeletons, or megalithic structures, the physical evidence suggests that the giants were not just mythical figures, but might have had a real and lasting impact on our world. As we confront these mysteries, it becomes clear that the Nephilim are not merely a relic of ancient myth. They are a key that may unlock the hidden past of humanity, a past that has been obscured by time, dogma, and deliberate suppression. Whether these artifacts represent the physical remnants of the giants or symbols of a lost knowledge once held by them, they all speak to the same truth, that we may be standing at the edge of a revelation, one that could forever alter our understanding of history, humanity, and the very nature of reality itself. As we approach the final chapters of this journey into the mysteries of the Nephilim, it's crucial to consider how these ancient giants might have shaped the myths, religions, and prophecies that continue to influence modern society. Over the millennia, stories of gods and giants have been woven into the cultural fabric of nearly every civilization, from the Bible to Greek mythology, from Hindu epics to Native American folklore. The common thread running through all these accounts is the presence of powerful, often divine beings that are sometimes depicted as giants, sometimes as celestial visitors, and sometimes as fallen angels. But could these stories be more than just myths or allegories? Could they be remembrances of a time when the Nephilim truly walked the earth, shaping humanity's spiritual and cultural trajectory? To explore this question, we must first look at one of the most influential sources that has shaped Western views of the giants, the Bible. In the book of Genesis, the Nephilim are briefly mentioned in a passage that has puzzled theologians and scholars for centuries. Genesis 6 verses 1 to 4 tells the story of the sons of God, often interpreted as angels, who took human wives and produced a race of giants, the Nephilim. This passage has sparked a range of interpretations, with some viewing the Nephilim as fallen angels who descended from heaven to mingle with humanity, while others suggest they were the offspring of divine beings or gods from another realm. In early Jewish writings, such as the Book of Enoch, the Nephilim are described as giants of great strength who not only corrupted humanity, but also taught forbidden knowledge that led to the eventual destruction of civilization in the Great Flood. The Book of Enoch goes into much more detail about the Nephilim and their role in the events leading up to the flood, describing how these beings brought chaos to the earth, teaching humans to engage in practices like astrology, metallurgy, and sorcery. According to this account, the Nephilim were not merely misunderstood giants. They were also agents of corruption, bringing knowledge that was too dangerous for humanity to handle. This apocalyptic narrative ties the Nephilim to the great cosmic battle between good and evil. The idea that the giants were a force of destruction, teaching humanity knowledge that led to the world's ruin, has profound implications. It suggests that the Nephilim were more than mere historical figures. They were connected to the very foundation of cosmic order, representing a dangerous form of knowledge that could destabilize the balance of the universe. It's also worth noting that this narrative parallels many other mythologies where gods or demigods bring powerful, transformative knowledge to humanity, often with catastrophic consequences. Moving from the Bible to Greek mythology, we encounter giants again, though this time they are depicted in a different light. The Titans of Greek myth are often seen as a race of primordial giants who once ruled the earth before being overthrown by the Olympian gods. Like the Nephilim, the Titans were considered to possess immense power and knowledge, and their eventual fall was viewed as a necessary step in maintaining cosmic harmony. But what if these Titans weren't simply a metaphor for older gods? What if they were actually remnants of an ancient race of giants who had once walked the earth, beings of incredible might and wisdom who influenced the development of early Greek civilization? One striking similarity between the Nephilim and the Titans is their association with divine knowledge. The Titans were often credited with teaching humanity various arts and sciences. Prometheus, for example, is said to have gifted humans the knowledge of fire, a symbol of enlightenment, but also of potential destruction. This aligns closely with the biblical account of the Nephilim, who, according to the Book of Enoch, shared forbidden knowledge with humans that led to their downfall. The connection between these two groups, the Nephilim and the Titans, raises a compelling question. Were the giants of various ancient mythologies different representations of the same beings, passed down through different cultures and stories? Moving further east, the influence of these giants can be seen in the Hindu epics, particularly in the stories of the Asuras and the Devas. In Hinduism, the Asuras are often depicted as a powerful race of beings who warred with the Devas, or gods. The Asuras, much like the Nephilim, were known for their immense strength and wisdom, as well as their rebellious nature. They were considered to be both divine and demonic, figures who straddle the line between the human and the divine. Could the Asuras be a cultural reflection of the same kind of giant beings found in other traditions? A distant memory of a time when powerful, semi-divine beings walked the earth and interacted with humanity? Even in the Americas, there are stories of giants who once roamed the land. Many Native American tribes have legends of giant beings who inhabited the earth in ancient times. Some of these giants are described as benevolent, while others are more malevolent, bringing suffering and destruction to humanity. The Paiute tribe, for instance, speaks of the Cetacea, a race of cannibalistic giants who were eventually driven to extinction by the ancestors of the Paiutes. In these stories, we see echoes of the same themes found in the Bible and other traditions: the giants' great power, their corruption, and their eventual fall. These accounts add another layer of complexity to the Nephilim narrative, suggesting that the giants were not confined to any one region or culture, but were a global phenomenon, influencing stories and myths across the world. The recurring theme across all of these ancient cultures is the idea that the giants were more than just powerful beings. They were tied to a form of knowledge, wisdom, or power that had far-reaching consequences. The Nephilim, like the Titans, the Asuras, and the various giants of Native American folklore, seem to represent a kind of ancient wisdom that was both a blessing and a curse. They were agents of both creation and destruction, bringing gifts of knowledge to humanity, but also sowing chaos and corruption in their wake. This knowledge, often referred to as forbidden wisdom, has remained a tantalizing and dangerous idea throughout history. From the ancient practices of alchemy and astrology to the occult practices of secret societies, this knowledge has been passed down through the centuries, often concealed and hidden away by those who sought to control it. It is believed by some that the secret knowledge of the Nephilim still exists in hidden texts, ancient relics, and esoteric traditions, knowledge that could, if unlocked, revolutionize our understanding of the universe. In the present day, the continuing fascination with the Nephilim and their connection to ancient knowledge speaks to a deeper human desire to understand our origins and our place in the cosmos. The giants, whether seen as divine beings or fallen angels, continue to haunt our collective imagination, reminding us that there may be more to our history than we have been told. The stories of the Nephilim, their wisdom, their fall, and their lingering influence continue to echo through the ages, leaving us to wonder what other truths may be hidden beneath the surface of our shared history. As we seek to uncover these secrets, we may one day discover that the giants of the past were not just mythological figures, but a real part of humanity's forgotten heritage, one that continues to shape our present and perhaps even our future. As we draw closer to the conclusion of our exploration into the Nephilim and their mysterious legacy, we are faced with an unsettling question. What if their influence continues to shape our world in ways we have yet to fully understand? The giants of the past may not just be remnants of ancient history. They could be a living influence that reaches into the present day. From secret societies to hidden knowledge, from suppressed histories to cryptic prophecies, the presence of the Nephilim in modern culture is far from dormant. They seem to persist, woven into the fabric of our collective consciousness, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves fully. One of the most intriguing aspects of this ongoing legacy is the idea of hidden knowledge, ancient wisdom that was either lost or deliberately concealed by those in power. Some scholars argue that the Nephilim's knowledge of advanced sciences, metaphysical principles, and celestial understandings was passed down through secretive organizations such as the Freemasons, the Rosicrucians, and other esoteric societies. These groups, many of which have been associated with mysterious symbols, sacred geometry, and a deep reverence for ancient lore, might be carrying forward the very wisdom that the Nephilim were believed to have imparted to humanity. Moreover, the themes of giants and fallen angels persist in modern pop culture, from Hollywood films to science fiction novels, often appearing as symbols of forbidden knowledge, power, and the unknown. Could these modern depictions be more than just entertainment? Could they be subtle nods to a deeper truth, one that connects us to a forgotten past? It's a thought-provoking idea that challenges us to reconsider the true nature of the Nephilim, not as distant mythological beings, but as an integral part of a much larger and still unfolding story. As we reach the final section of this exploration into the Nephilim, it's worth pondering the significance of these ancient beings beyond the myths and conspiracies. The tale of the Nephilim, whether seen as giants, fallen angels, or something else entirely, serves as a poignant reminder that humanity's search for truth often runs deeper than the facts themselves. It's not just about uncovering lost histories or forgotten bloodlines. It's about understanding our collective yearning for knowledge, for meaning, and for connection to something greater than ourselves. The Nephilim myth speaks to a deep-seated desire to uncover secrets that have been buried or hidden away, secrets that could potentially reshape our understanding of who we are and where we come from. But in the end, it may not be the literal existence of the giants that matters most, but the legacy of mystery they've left behind. The very idea that there might be something hidden in our past, something just out of reach, reminds us of the power of myth itself to shape our future. As we look to the future, The Nephilim continue to provoke questions that challenge us to reconsider our place in the universe, to ask what might be hidden in the gaps of our history, and to recognize that some mysteries may never be fully understood, but are worth seeking nonetheless.